Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Genie Coder. If you guys are new here, I pretty much help people master data structures and algorithms, right? So that they can land the dream job. So today we have a pretty good problem. So it's a problem in HackerRank. So it's a Java list, right? So let's read it real quick. All right. So it says for this problem, right, we have two types of queries we can perform on a list, right? It says insert y at index x, right? So it says insert operation, right? And then we're gonna be given two parameters, and we're gonna have to insert the element y, right, at this particular index, right? So pretty straightforward. So, and then this one is delete, right? So we would delete uh, that number at this particular index, right? So interesting. So it says, so there's two operations, insert and delete, right? That's gonna be part of the query. That's what they told us that, right? So, and it says, given a list L, right, of n integers, perform Q queries on the list. Once all queries are completed, print the modified list, right, as a single line space separated integers, right? Since the input format is going to be the first line contains an integer n, right? So you can see um, we have an integer n, right? So at the first line, right? So that's pretty much going to tell us, right, the amount of elements that we're going to store pretty much, right? So you can see we have 5, right? And then the second line is going to contain the n integers, right? That they told us that we're going to have, right? So pretty much this is pretty much going to help us in reading the input, right? So pretty much you're going to tell us 5, right? And then we're going to read all those 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Right? And then it said after we read the second line, right, which is the numbers, right? The third line is going to contain an integer q, right? So the third line, right, is going to contain an integer q, right, which is 2, right? Pretty much telling us there's going to be two queries, guys, two queries in the for us to process, right? So the two Q subsequent lines, right, describe the queries, and each query is described over 2 lines, right? Okay. Yeah, so there's pretty much gonna be an operation, and then the actual numbers, right, that we need to pass, right? If it's insert, there's gonna be 2, right? So they're gonna tell us right now, right? So if the first line contains the string insert, right, then the second line is gonna contain two separate integers, right, which is gonna be x and a y. And the value y, right, must be inserted into L at index x, right? So if it's insert, there's going to be two parameters, right? One x and one y, right? So the y should be inserted at index x, right? So for this particular example, right, 23, the value 23 should be inserted into the list, right, at index 5, right? That's what this one's doing right now. Okay. Yeah. It says, if the first line contains a delete, right? If it's a delete operation, then the second line is going to contain one index, right? One number to tell us where we should delete, right? So for this particular example, we're going to delete, there's only one number, right? So we're going to delete at this index, right? The element at index 0, right? Right? At that time. So yeah, guys, so right now we're giving an input and we're giving a simple output, right? So yeah, guys, pretty straightforward. So let's go through a quick example. So the example for this one, right? So there's 5 numbers. We read all those five numbers, right, to some kind of data structure, right? We already know what data structure we're going to use. We're going to be using a Java list, right? Because it's dynamic and it fits the um what we need, right? So pretty much if you click on that, guys, the link that they give you guys, right, list, pretty much brings you to the documentation, right? Pretty much the list stuff that you want, right? The list interface. It tells you pretty much you could go ahead and visit this page. You can see all the methods that you have available, right, to help you complete that challenge, guys. So yeah, it's a pretty good, guys. I like it a lot. So yeah, so it pretty much tells you everything that you need, right? So yeah, let's go. Yeah, so pretty much you guys can come back to this and for more. I'm saying so. Let's quickly do this example. So pretty much to accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? Let's see. So 5 numbers, right? So we need to add all those 5 numbers into some kind of into the list, right? So how do we add numbers in the list, right? So we already know we're gonna be using a list, right? So we're gonna be using the add function, right? Right? I don't see it, but yeah, it's there somewhere. So add, right? We're gonna be using the add function, guys, to add that number into into the list, right? The Java list that we're gonna have, right? And then so we add after add all those numbers, right? We're going to pretty much get this number, which is going to tell us how many queries are going to be present, right? So it's going to be two queries, guys, and then we just process it. If it's an insert, right, we're going to insert the um, element at a particular index, right? So pretty much it's going to be very similar, guys, to the index, the way we add numbers for this one, right? We'll add regular numbers, but for this time, we're going to be using the add function, which is which accept two parameters, right? No, which is there's one that accept an index and also yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, right? So this function, guys, is very useful to us, right? You know, pretty much you could specify an index, right? And then you could specify it in the element, right? So you could do that as well, right? So there are different add function that you could do, which is pretty good, guys. I like it a lot, right? All right. So yeah, pretty straightforward, guys. So yeah, so we could use that API, right? You know, to insert a particular element, right? At that yeah, so and then the delete, right, is gonna pretty much help us to delete at a particular index, guys. So the API we're gonna use for that is gonna be remove. Let's quickly go through that, right? Remove, right? So this API, right, we're gonna specify an index, right, and it's gonna remove the element, right, at that particular position, guys. So yeah, it's pretty good, guys. I like it a lot. All right, so let's go ahead now that we know what to do, right? Yeah, so then after we do all of that, right, all those operations, we're gonna print, right, the resulting list, right, to what I'm saying. So we're gonna print the resulting list after we're done with everything, right? And then yeah, so we know what to do now. Let's quickly go into it, right? So pretty much, guys, it tells us exactly what to do, right? So it tells us to read the input from system.in, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So we're gonna create a scanner class to read stuff from the all right. So scan, it's going to be new scanner, right? We're going to tell it where to read the input from. So system that in, right? It tells exactly what to do here, guys. So I'm saying, so now the first thing that we're going to read is going to be integer n, right? And telling us the amount of numbers that we're going to add, right, to the list, right? Okay. So we do scan that next int, right? Right. Yeah, and then after we do that, guys, we're gonna read the next n numbers, right? Which is gonna be the next n numbers right there. All right. So yeah, we do a simple loop through. Okay. I is less than n, right? I plus plus. Right. So now, guys, we need to create the list that we gonna hold the stuff in, right? So the list interface. So it's gonna be a list of integers, right? Because they're numbers, and then list, right? New array list, right? It's the implementation, all right? So now, guys, we have a list, right? Pretty much to hold the list of integers, right, that we're going to have, right? So what we're going to do, guys, pretty much going to be simple. So we're going to get the value at num. It's going to be, so let me just do this, that, add. So we don't need to specify an index for this one, right? Because we're just adding numbers, what I'm saying. So it's going to keep adding elements at the end, right? In the back. So we're going to add the number every time, right? So the number is going to come from the input, guys, right? The scan class, right? So that's how we keep reading input like that, guys, right? So we get the next number. So every time, right? So we get the next 5 numbers. It gets 12, 0, 1, 2, right? We know we should get 5 numbers. So that's why we get the n integers, right? Which is 5, right? And then, guys, what's next, guys? So he says the next thing is going to be integer q, right? To tell us, right? Q to tell us the number of queries that we're going to have, right? So let's quickly get that. So there's going to be nq, right? It's going to be pretty much the next int, right? So we read that number n, right? Okay. So we get an integer q, right? Pretty much tell us how many queries. So we're going to have a loop as well, right? To loop through the amount of queries that we're going to have, right? I is less than q, I plus plus, right? Simple loop, right? And then, guys, what we're going to do, which is going to be interesting, right? So we're going to be reading. So now for the queries, right? The next few lines, right? The next 2 lines are going to pretty much tell us there's going to be an operation and there's going to be a set of numbers, right? Right. So if it's an insert, there's going to be 2 parameters, right? If it's a delete, there's gonna be one parameter. So right now we're gonna pretty much say, all right, cool. So we got the number, there's two quarters, right? Let's get the what's the command, right? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the action, right? In action, right? So we're gonna read it, right? So we're gonna do scan that next, right? To get the actual string, guys, right? We didn't do next and, right? We did next, right? To get the string, guys, right? So we're gonna check it right now, right? Also gonna be, there's two things, right? Two options, right? So if action, guys, right, equals, right, to insert, right? So if it's an insert operation, then what are we gonna do, guys? We're going to get the index, right, which is index x, right, which is gonna be scan that next in, right? So to get the actual, right, because if it's an insert, there's always going to be two parameters, right? So the first one's going to specify the index, and then the second one's going to specify the value, guys. So I'm trying to make it very, very clear for you guys, right? And why? And then we do scan that next int. So we get that number, and then what we're going to do, guys, we're going to insert it to using the API that I talked about earlier. So where we specify the index, right, x, right, and then we specify the value that we want, right? So that's how we set it, guys. Pretty simple like that, right? So if it's not an insert, then it must be a delete, right? Which is pretty much going to be only one number, and x, right? It's going to be yeah. So this one, yeah, right there. It's delete. There's only one number, so we specify the index of where we want to delete on the actual number from, right? So we do scan. So it's a number. So the next int, right? And after we do that, guys, yeah, we should, yeah, we're pretty much in pretty good shape. So we just loop through. Right, and 0 I is less than so now we need to print all the elements, right? So what we could do int num. So we could do for each loop, right, to print the elements, right? We could do for each loop. We could do however we like it, right? So let's do a for each loop, guys. So for int num and list, right? For numbers in the list, right? So we're gonna print stuff to the console, right? So what we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna do num plus, right? It should be a space separated, guys. So that's why we do it like that, right? Seems like we got everything correct, guys. Let's press run code, see if we get any errors. So he says wrong, right? Okay, all right. So it should be space separated, guys. Not there shouldn't be a new line. All right. That's where I messed up that. All right, cool. Let's press submit. Perfect, guys. We passed every single test cases, guys. So I want to thank you guys for, taking the time to watch this video. If you guys found value, give me a like, guys. I would appreciate that a lot. If you guys are new here, subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next one.